Hey guys, what is going on? It is Anthony here, back again with another video, and today we're going to be checking out the Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky Core John Mayer Signature. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Before we get started, I just want to give a huge thank you and shout out to the kind folks over at St. Pete Guitars. If it weren't for them, this review would not be possible, and I thank them so much for allowing me to take this home to review for the channel for you guys. I'm super happy to finally try one of these out, and I can't wait to tell you guys what I think of it and go over the pros and cons as well as everything else and play some stuff on it. So without further ado, if you guys want to check out this guitar and get it at a great price, be sure to stop by their shop. They're located in St. Pete Beach, Florida. All that said, let's get started with today's video. So today we're going to be checking out the Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky Core series. This guitar is made in the United States. It's got 3 single coil Paul Reed Smith John Mayer signature pickups. We got 1 volume, tuned tones. We got a 5-way blade switch. We got 22 frets. We got a 7.25-inch radius. We also got the iconic Paul Reed Smith bird inlays, as well as a maple neck and maple fretboard. We also have an inverted Paul Reed Smith headstock to improve intonation, as well as vintage style locking tuners with modern type of enclosings. And we also have a dual action truss rod and this very nice finish. So now that we got the main specs out of the way, what do I think of this guitar? Honestly, it's actually a really good guitar. Although this is something that's not necessarily in my wheelhouse personally. I mean, I'm not the biggest John Mayer fan in the world, although I have tremendous respect for his work and his craft and his style as a guitar player. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be the biggest John Mayer fan to be able to admit that the dude can absolutely play guitar and he can play the blues very well. I mean, his tone is really freaking good. That all said, the tones from this guitar are really good, especially. I see why he went with the pickups that he went with. I mean, this is literally like if Paul Reed Smith literally made a Strat, essentially. I remember when this first came up and people were being like, oh, it's a copycat Strat and all that. I remember it had like a very divided, kind of controversial, you know, some people loved it, some people hated it, all that kind of stuff. But to be objectively honest with you guys, the tones that the pickups have, I mean, it does definitely feel and sound like a Strat, like 100% for sure. Again, it's not really my thing because the neck shape is definitely a lot thicker than what I'm used to, but some people like that very vintage kind of meaty kind of feel of a neck. It's just something that doesn't really work for me, but I can objectively admit that this is still a great player. It's really cool too that you get these vintage style locking tuners on the back, but they look nice and like, you know, somewhat modern in the front as well with the locking mechanism. And I think it's really neat that, you know, they went with this kind of headstock design because I guess it improves intonation somehow, which I think is pretty cool. But I do have to say, aesthetically, I do prefer the regular Paul Reed Smith headstock, but that's just me being nitpicky. But overall, I think it's a really great player. I also think it's really neat that this is open on the back and that there's no back plate, so you could just make adjustments when needed. And the fret access too with the bevel here is actually really nice as well. So when you're getting to that 22nd fret, you're not bumping into a piece of wood, you're just bumping into this piece of wood, but you have plenty of wiggle room to hit that 22nd fret. In terms of feel, it's not really a shredder's guitar. It's literally Paul Reed Smith's version of a Fender Stratocaster. I mean, how obvious does it look that it is literally ripped off of that, except with the Paul Reed Smith modern touches of the bevels and all that kind of stuff. I really think it's cool that Paul Reed Smith took a legendary design and kind of made it their own. And I really think the bird inlays look absolutely killer on this. I just think it looks really cool. And I like that John Mayer went with the stuff that he went with this guitar. which is really cool. But enough about me chit-chattering. We're just gonna go ahead and plug this thing in. I'll show you guys what all 3 pickups sound like, you know, and just do the typical Strat thing with them so you guys can get an idea of how this guitar sounds. I can't wait to show you guys and to hear what you guys think. So until then, we're gonna go over the pros and cons. And then later on in the video, we'll go over if this guitar is truly worth the price. So now that you guys have heard this guitar, we're gonna now start off with the pros and cons. Starting with the pros, the first pro that we can get out of the way is the pickups. These pickups, for what they are aimed for, sound truly freaking amazing. I'm very happy with the crunchy tones I'm able to get out of them and the nice, you know, creamy, buttery, vintage Strat vibes that I'm able to get out of them. The neck pickup, as well as the 4th position and the middle position, as well as even the bridge in middle, just like any typical Strat would be, just sounds absolutely killer. This guitar does not disappoint in terms of sound for what it's aimed for the type of customer it's aimed towards and the type of player it's aimed towards. I'm very happy with the Strat tones that I'm able to achieve out of this thing. Even though I'm not typically a Strat guy, this is still, like, in terms of sound, this guitar does not disappoint whatsoever. And I like the flexibility of the tone knob as well as the volume knob for, you know, the typical Strat thing. The second pro that we can get out of the way is it's very comfortable. I really like the forearm contour here. It's really nice when I rest my hand to be able to play and not feel like I'm fighting the guitar in terms of my right hand. It's very, very comfortable, and it's something to easily get adjusted to, even if you're somebody that's not typically a Strat guy. The other thing I can also say too is the fretwork is actually really, really good. There's no like super sharp fret ends as well. It's very smooth all around. The other thing too is that the notes really ring out very well, and they have really nice sustain, and just they have really nice singing quality as well, which I think is really, really nice. Not to mention the tuning stability. When you get this thing acclimated to the weather, it actually stays in tune really, really well. And it's intonated really like, it's really good in terms of how stable the guitar is, how stable the tuning stability is, and the intonation. Really, really good. I really like what PRS did here, as well as John Mayer. And I truly have great appreciation for what they did, because in terms of playability and sound, it definitely, you know, for the player it's aimed towards in that like blues type of genre or funk type of stuff, it definitely works for that. You know, like I said, definitely not a shredder's guitar, but if you are aiming for, you know, the blues, classic rock, or any of like the old school type of vintage Strat tones that have that nice glassy, you know, classic sound to it, you will absolutely love the tones of this guitar, because they truly do not disappoint, especially clean. I could go on and on. The clean tones are especially amazing on this guitar. I'm very, very pleased with how this guitar sounds. The other pro too is you also get locking tuners, and not just any locking tuners, you get vintage style looking locking tuners on the back, as well as a modern locking mechanism in the front. So it's like you get like a best of both worlds mentality, which really helps in terms of quick restring changes and just really capturing the vibe at the same time, which I think is really cool, as well as a bone nut. So it's a very, very stable guitar, like I mentioned, in that way. And not to mention, it's very comfortable in terms of the fact that the bevel here is really nice for getting to that 22nd fret, which is really, really cool. And the other pro too is you also get a Paul Reed Smith gig bag as well, which is really, really nice, because, you know, even though it is a gig bag, it is a nice Paul Reed Smith gig bag that you can put it in, and you can easily travel with this guitar. And not to mention, this guitar is also very, very lightweight. So if you're traveling with this guitar, it won't hurt your back. It won't hurt you while you're playing it on stage. It's something that, you know, you don't have to, you know, literally pump iron to be able to take with you, essentially, which is kind of nice in a way, unless you're somebody that likes a super heavy guitar. You know, everyone is different. But overall, I think the pros speak for themselves with this guitar. And I think in terms of playability, when you are acclimated to it, I don't think it disappoints in that way. So now that I went over the pros about this instrument, what are the cons? Well, the first con that we do have to get out of the way is the price. This is $2,750, brand spanking new out of the box. Is it worth it? I'll answer that later on in the video, but one thing's for sure is I could say that is very, very expensive. And although this is a great guitar and it is a great player and it's got amazing tones to it, it's definitely one that could be heavily debated, and it's something that I do have to leave up to the person that is the consumer. But again, I will answer later on in the video though whether or not I do truly think it's worth it or if it's not worth it. So all that said, we're just going to move on to the second con, and the second con being is the neck. Now, this is personal preference, so please take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it personally, but I'm somebody where I don't like a chunky neck or like a very meaty kind of neck. Like I said, some people do, like I said earlier on in the video, but I will say though, the neck is still comfortable. But if you're somebody that does prefer a thin neck like myself, you may or may not like this guitar. I definitely still appreciate it, even though it's not my neck shape personally, but it is one where I do feel like, you know, it does slow me down ever so slightly. But again, that's just from the perspective of a shred guitarist. So don't take that into account though if you're somebody that's not a shredder. This is just me personally talking from my perspective. But the other thing too, that's a con for me at least, is I do wish there was more of a bevel cutaway here somehow that they did, even though I like the fact that they put like a bevel here for that right there. I wish they would have done like a recessed type of bolt-on right there, but it is what it is. Again, it's still a very comfortable playing guitar. The tones are great. I think it's still a really great player overall. I think the quality control is really excellent, and I think PRS did a really good job. I think the tuning stability overall is really, really good. I mean, you do get a case with it. You do get this PRS tremolo as well. I mean, it's a Paul Reed Smith Strat, essentially, like I said. So if you are a Strat guy and you want something that's like inspired by that, but like a slightly different flavor in terms of the vibe, then this guitar could totally work for you. The only con that I can really point out that's not really the biggest deal is I do feel like the knobs are very plasticky for what they are. I mean, this is a $2,750 guitar, brand spanking new out of the box. I mean, I do wish the knobs were a little less plasticky feeling because they could feel just a little bit cheap, just a tad bit. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they're knobs at the end of the day. It doesn't affect the functionality or the playability or the sound of this instrument. That's just me being nitpicky for the sake of this video. But all in all, it's a really good guitar. It's a solid axe. And I think if you're a Strat guy, I think you'll really, really enjoy this instrument. Now for the moment of truth that we've been all waiting for. Is this guitar worth $2,750? If I'm being completely honest, I don't think it's worth paying that much for this guitar. Make no mistake, this is a really great guitar. But for how much you can find these on the used market, I mean, and for how much St. Pete Guitars is selling this one, you can literally find a used one for around $1,700 like this one that's in really great shape overall. And it's something where it's like you're literally getting the same guitar for almost like a grand less for, you know, what the guitar is. I mean, I noticed that these pop up on the used market from time to time, and it's one of those things where I find it very hard to want to spend $2,750 despite how good it is. I just don't know if it's $2,700 good. That all said, I do like the guitar. I do, you know, appreciate it a lot. Is it my thing? Not really. But I do think the tones are really excellent. I do think for, you know, the right player that, you know, whether or not they like John Mayer or not, will truly, truly appreciate this guitar a lot more, and they will absolutely vibe with it more. If you're somebody that likes a chunkier neck and you want something that's not like paper thin, then this guitar could totally work for you. Because this guitar is literally Paul Reed Smith's version of a Fender Stratocaster, like I said. If you like the Strat tone, which I definitely, you know, think it has its place, and it's one that I do like the Strat tone, but the neck just doesn't work for me personally to where I could justify spending $2,750 personally. That's just me. But if you could find these used for around $1,700, $1,800 with the case, I say totally go for it. I mean, it is made in the USA. You are still getting great components. You're getting, you know, an amazing classic vibe with it, with the touch of a modern Paul Reed Smith, but more aiming towards that vintage Strat type of vibe, which is super duper cool. And as a result of it, I would give this guitar an 8 out of 10 guitar picks. I think it's a really solid guitar. You know, like I said, it's not something that necessarily works for my taste or my music, but if I'm just chilling at home and I just want to play something different just in rotation, I could definitely see myself vibing with this guitar a little bit, even though I don't really vibe with it in general, just because I'm not really influenced by John Mayer or, you know, that kind of music in general, even though I have massive respect for it, you know. And like I said, if you guys love John Mayer's music and you love his playing, or you're somebody where you're a classic Strat guy, you will absolutely love this guitar. And it's something that I do think you'll truly appreciate it. And if you guys want to buy this guitar and check it out, be sure to stop in at St. Pete Guitars because they have this as a really good price. It's a USA made one, not an SC line, even though I have played many Paul Reed Smith SC guitars and they're really amazing as well. But this is the legit USA made Silver Sky core. So if you want to spend $1,700 on it and save yourself almost a grand, definitely hop over at St. Pete Guitars and check this out for yourself. That all said, I want to thank you guys so much for, you know, tuning into today's video. I had really fun checking this one out. Again, huge thank you to St. Pete Guitars, because this video would not be possible. I really had a fun time. And if you guys would like to see more guitar reviews like this, be sure to subscribe right down below, turn on the notification bell, leave a comment too on what guitars you guys would like to see next, because I'm very passionate about, checking out all sorts of different gear, even if it doesn't necessarily work for my style, my personal music, or my genre personally. I love guitars, and I love to check out and see what the different specs and, playing experience is all about. So that all said, thank you again so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.